I see 20 or 30 girls come in here every day. From small towns with big dreams. Some girls crack under the pressure. You're going to be great.
The Neon Demon. So after Nicolas winding Refn's last critical and commercial flop, Only God Forgives, he is now back with another film, The Neon Demon. The Neon Demon is the story of a young girl, played by Elle Fanning, who lacks in every bit of talent except for looking pretty. No, seriously, she says it in the film.
I can never figure it out. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't write. No real talent. But I'm pretty. And I can make money off pretty.
So she decides to become a model, and without much hesitation, Ella quickly climbs the ladder of success and in return gains envy from her fellow model. But what starts off as a rags to riches success story quickly ends up into a much more psychedelic, horrifying experience. Yeah, I really don't know where to begin with this film. But let's start off with Nicolas winding Refn as a filmmaker. He's an artist that for me could be perceived in both ways. Extremely confident with his craft, who isn't afraid to depict how he perceives the world to be like, or a narcissistic self-indulgent filmmaker who exploits the medium of film to show off how great of a director he thinks he is. And with both opinions, I have nothing against. He's a filmmaker that has certainly grown from his dark and gritty days of the Pusher trilogy films. And the thing is, I'm kinda late with this review. I missed out on this film in theaters, but nonetheless was always curious to see it. Even then, I really had no intention of reviewing this film, but after watching it, I knew that I just have to share my opinion because I certainly have a lot to say about this film, but I'll try to keep it nice and short. There's a lot of love and hate relationship that went on between the film and me throughout its runtime. The performances for the most part are usually great. Elle Fanning was a great choice as the naive, perfect model that resembles the innocence from Oscar Wilde's Dorian Gray. Her face structure and complexion is certainly very post-Renaissance style of oil painting. But also the supporting role of Jenna Malone was really fantastic as the calm yet deranged psychopath.
Am I staring?
A little.
Sorry. Just have such beautiful skin. I'm Ruby, by the way.
Hell, even Keanu Reeves kind of pulled it off with a short role as a perverted manager of a sleazy motel. And like any other Nicolas winding Refn film, the cinematography and art direction is simply outstanding. Even his harshest critics cannot deny that. Consider this scene, how seamlessly reality transforms into simple quadratic shapes and forms. But for me, here lies the massive problem I have with the film. The whole film doesn't really add up to anything. This film could easily be a bizarre collage of scenes put together to ultimately converge into this terrifying ending. An ending that I hope was also intentionally comedic cause I kinda laughed at it. Unlike winding Refn's last film, The Neon Demon doesn't take itself too seriously, and his obvious metaphors and foreshadowing about the fashion industry doesn't seem too narcissistic. But was that all intentional? I'm really not too sure about it. Throughout its runtime, I kept hoping that the questions that I have in mind would somehow be referred to later in the film, but they weren't really. Questions like, what was the point of Elle Fanning's boyfriend in the film? Why did he disappear after the first half of the film, never to be seen or referred again? Why did she need it to be underage? Was that supposed to emphasize on her innocence in the dog-eat-dog world of modeling? What was up with the threat she got from someone in her motel room? Was it her imagination or did that actually happen? Why was there a dream sequence with Keanu Reeves? What purpose did that serve? Why did film drastically change its tone by the end of the film? And this is my biggest complaint. Although certain scenes are so mesmerizing that they still are vividly part of my thoughts days after watching the film, the narrative structure lacks credibility to its absurd ending. The film starts off like a regular artsy The Devil Wears Prada, but the last act of the film ends up being a horrific Andy Warhol film. However disgustingly satisfying the ending was, it somehow didn't earn its place in the film. Quite clearly, it only served as a shock value for the audience to either love or hate the film. And I can see what the ending is supposed to represent about the cutthroat world of fashion, where you are constantly taught to be insecure with your physical self. But the film really needed a steady progression towards the climax of the film. At the moment, it just seems a bit too forced and quite frankly, unnecessary. And yeah, it's true, the other parts of the film are stale and not even the least bit memorable. But all of this doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad film, not at all. Its craft I appreciate well enough. Nicolas Winding Refn is a talented filmmaker who knows how to visually entice his audience, but then again, he's way too much in love with this work and sometimes be defined as pure visual masturbation with paper-thin structure of a narrative. With films like Drive, this minimal technique served the film quite well, but other than pretty pictures, only God Forgives had pretty much nothing to offer. The Neon Demon for me lies somewhere between the two. It's nowhere near as interesting as Drive, but also not so forgettable as Only God Forgives. The Neon Demon is a kind of a frustrating film to review, since the flaws are certainly there, but are seeped deep within the artistry of the medium. Certain moments are clearly on my mind as I review it, but I also somehow don't want to watch the whole film over again. I can probably only recommend this to either Nicolas Winding Refn fans or film buffs who are open to bizarre imagery in movies. It might be too artsy for regular moviegoers and too obvious for artsy film buffs. Maybe my point of view might change in the coming weeks or so, but for now, I give this film a 2.5 stars out of 5.